What's up, wrestling fans? Two Bros Wrestling Show coming at you with our very special Christmas edition. What's up, Kevin?
As you can see from the totally real non-AI Christmas tree behind me.
It's a beautiful non-AI generated Christmas tree, Kevin. Although your reality about around it is distorting somewhat. You may need to stabilize that.
Yeah, that can be said for a lot of my realities, Doug, but tonight's
Yeah.
reality is one where we do the Christmas spirit thing and give the gift of praise to someone that we probably have not praised enough through the years. Dare I say that that is maybe the case, that we
Yeah.
have underappreciated John Cena?
Yeah, we definitely have. There's some shaming that can go on there, especially this final run. Of course, there's plenty to criticize there as well, and I think for the most part we've been justified, or at least I'm going to tell myself that.
We are actually going to go through all of that. The history of John Cena and how we felt about him through the different spots of his career, where we may have got it wrong and underappreciated the man, and how we feel that the entire last year has gone. And we'll end it all talking about next weekend, which will be his last match, and some questions surrounding it, including whether or not we think he should win the thing or do the deed.
Yeah, yeah,
A
I
lot,
was thinking about that while catching up on wrestling earlier today.
a lot of different ways men have gone out through the years. This has been a very
Hmm.
different kind of retirement. And we're going to just talk John Cena appreciation as our gift to John for all the belated years that we maybe were a little hard on him.
Yeah, a little.
A little,
Yeah,
just a little.
a little. Yeah. All right. Hit me with some news, Kevin.
There was no news, Doug. So on to our main
Oh,
event. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
amazing. Amazing.
What is amazing is the sheer amount of news that we could talk about and open with several very large stories to start with. I am going to start with the one for our opening bell that has the most direct impact to wrestling right now. The other one's actually a larger story. We'll get to that one in a minute, but this is one that has few far questions, and we can say that finally TNA has secured its media rights deal, and it's a good one. This past week, it was announced AMC will become the TV home of TNA Impact beginning with the January 15th edition. So, a month away, essentially. Financial
Hmm.
details were not disclosed, but there are some saying it's somewhere in the $30 million range. We also don't know a length per se. So I'm assuming that is maybe per year, which would be really good for TNA. AMC
So
is one
that's
of
a
America's.
Brock Lesnar pay-per-view payout then per year they're getting. Is that what they're getting? Is that what I just heard?
eh, Considering what they're getting now, so right now they run on Access,
Right.
which is
Hmm.
actually a cable company owned by Anthem, which also owns TNA. So in other words, they're putting on their own show.
Yeah.
With this, you're going to have one of the prestige TV networks. I mean,
Hmm.
AMC's more known for things like Breaking
Absolutely.
Bad, Mad Men, Walking Dead. They're not really
Hmm.
known for sports or sports entertainment for sure. This is definitely out of AMC's normal wheelhouse. It also, though, definitely gives them the highest profile they have had, arguably
Hmm.
since the days they left Pop TV, which was forever ago.
Yeah,
When you
man.
think about that, TNA President Carlos Silva has stated AMC isn't just a new network home, but a partner that wants to help TNA grow. There are a few things that we know and some things about the deal that we don't yet know. One of the things we know is the press release referred to it as Thursday Night Impact, which immediately shoots down any thought, at least at the onset, that WWE, of course, was trying to help partner a deal for TNA and wanted them to run head to head on Wednesdays with AEW as an AEW killer. Number two, that they could control how much truth there was in that. Who knows? But what we do know now is that obviously they are going to stick to Thursday nights. 9 o'clock is when that they will be airing the show. As for that WWE relationship, though, Doug, there's been conflicting reports on whether or not anything will change with it. Time will tell on that one.
Hmm.
For now, TNA and NXT wrestlers are still appearing on both broadcasts, so we'll need to watch to see how that may shift. We also don't know whether or not the new deal means TNA Plus, the streaming service TNA uses for its older content as well as for pay per view delivery, will continue because Impact is on TNA Plus. If you don't have
Mhm.
access, you can get TNA Plus, have all your pay per views, have all the back catalog. So now, obviously, they're going to be part of the AMC Plus streaming service, which is where they will obviously be putting Impact. Who knows where they'll be putting their pay per views? It'd be great if there'd be some sort of pay per view deal with all of this too, but that could definitely change TNA's pay per view model.
Mhm.
Who knows? Lots of questions, but still just excellent news for TNA and its fans and wrestling fans in general who've not had this type of broad access to TNA since I haven't been able to watch really regularly
Right.
since the Pop TV days. And that's been a long, well, no, Destination America, when that was a thing, was maybe the last time I actually had access to TNA on a regular basis. So this is good news.
TNA has literally been the little wrestling promotion that could. Every time you think they're
Yeah.
down and out, they're like the cockroach of professional wrestling, and I mean that in the best terms, because they just
No,
can't be killed.
they have been pronounced dead many times over, and here they are with this as arguably the best news this company has had since the back in the days when Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett were involved, and they were going to go,
Yeah.
up against WWF at the time on a Monday night. Like they had real momentum then, and ever since then, it's sort of been, oh, they're dying, they're dying, they're dying, and this
Hmm.
is this is a big deal for them. And it should be
Very.
noted
Yeah.
creatively, they have been really good the last year or
They've been on
so.
fire.
And
Yeah.
yeah, they've been on fire. So maybe they can ride that momentum. Let's see what they do with this deal. And speaking of deals, this is the
Right.
big one. So,
Here's that AEW killer.
man alive, it could be that, it could be nothing, it could be a lot of killers for a lot of industry things. This is not
Yes, it
wrestling
could.
related. Everybody knows this one, I'm sure by now. Obviously, this is bigger than our opening story, but it's just too much right now to know what it means, especially for the world of wrestling, to have this not, to put this one up top. So we'll have to figure this one all out. Implications for entertainment at whole cannot be overstated.
Hmm.
The sale of Warner Brothers Discovery to Netflix. This week, both companies announced they'd reached agreement in principle for a sale that is somewhere around the $87 billion mark. That's a little more than Brock Lesnar's payouts, but
Just a
there are
little. That's
still
like a six
just a
worth,
bit.
6 months worth of PPVs.
Man, there are so much to unpack with this one. Obviously, this is mostly a direction that we're headed, but there's nothing that you could set in stone because we have so much in the way of regulatory hurdles,
Yeah.
legal issues, court cases. There's going to have to be a whole lot before this gets full blessing. The government has already supposedly had its concerns because they really wanted Paramount. The Trump administration is closer to the Paramount
Hmm.
folks. They may fight them in court. And it's hard to say that this new company wouldn't be a monopoly. It's, I mean, when you have the world's largest streamer buying one of the world's most prestigious libraries and most prolific production companies, and that's where movie theaters are getting concerned. If you own both the means of production and distribution, you could totally bypass theaters. And there's theater owners that are screaming that this would be the death of an entire movie going industry.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that sounds like hyperbole, but is it?
Right. I mean, when you have, everything can go straight to the home, then I
Yeah,
mean, taking Warner Brothers taking over the Warner Brothers chunk
yeah,
gives Netflix so much. You get the film library, you get access to all DC. all DC content there, all the superhero content that's out there, all these classic movies. We're just talking about AMC. There's a lot of Warner Brothers movies running on AMC that
Yeah.
you have all that you just dump into it. I was watching a thing today, complete side note about wrestling, but I think it's the current or recent Netflix president, CEO, some sort of higher up in CEO, has more fonder memories of watching movies at home with his family. So he's already leaning
That's not
towards
good.
what can be done with that. So you're right, that's not good. Because it. But then
The
you
movie,
also look that on Warner Brothers project, Superman, the newest Superman, James Gunn Superman was what in theaters like a month before it hit digital,
yeah,
and you can watch it in your home.
yeah,
So
they could
maybe this is
definitely,
the
if
way
they
anyway.
even, if they, yeah, they could keep compressing that window and lock them out altogether. So number one concern is definitely the movie industry. So you're saying maybe what does this have to do with wrestling? Well,
Well,
AEW is partners with Warner Brothers and WWE is partners with Netflix. How does all of that shake out? What we know is this: nothing is going to change until later in 2026, as all of the legalities we've mentioned, shareholder concerns, all are sorted out. It also may not happen until Warner Brothers makes good on its intentions to split the company in two,
mhm.
one for TV networks and one for its production company and streaming service HBO Max. If that break does happen the way they want it to, it probably would be the best thing for AEW, as its
Mhm.
deal with TBS and TNT will see less of an impact, that they may be able to continue that. The streaming rights of Collision, Dynamite, and of course pay per views, past and present, are more in jeopardy, it would seem, as HBO Max will be owned by Netflix, who very famously have a tight relationship with TKO, airing
Mhm.
Raw domestically, and they have pretty much all WWE content internationally, pay per views and all around the
Mhm.
rest of the world. There is some talk that Netflix will keep HBO Max as a separate service, but there's also talk that Netflix will eventually absorb it. That seems most likely in the long run. Obviously, that will take
Mhm.
a while to figure out. There's even some speculation that I've heard, and you may have heard this one too, Doug, that Warner Brothers, the sports that Warner Brothers have the rights to, would be
Mhm.
spun off into a separate sports streaming service similar to an ESPN Unlimited or Fox One. All of that obviously is speculation, and who knows what AEW would be considered. Are they going to be on the sports side of
Yeah.
things or the entertainment side of things? Are they on the
Mhm.
Discovery side of this split, or the Warner Brothers side of this split? So much to figure out. All just speculation. I imagine, though, whatever happens, at least for pay per views and streaming, AEW soon is going to have a much smaller platform or service, or be looking for a new service of some sort. And then the
Mhm.
TV part probably will be safe, at least as their deal runs through the end of 2027. Who knows after
Right.
that? If we don't know how this is all going to shake out, though, the one person who also doesn't know, who's having a lot more in the way of sleepless nights,
Right.
one Tony Khan. I would be.
I'm not sure Tony has many sleepful nights, though. I mean, the guy seems to run on 10 24/7, or maybe
It's true.
23/7. He may nap a little bit. Maybe he may get a little bit more sleep than I do, but I don't think so.
This is certainly something that will earn those restless nights, because he did seem to just have things squared away for
Hmm.
the future of AEW TV and pay per views. And this throws a huge caveat into how that relationship may look moving forward.
Yes, it's going to be interesting. Going to be scary
Yeah. Oh,
times for AEW for sure.
this is going to be the story where I think we'll watch the most next year, and we'll probably be
Next year.
talking the most about. This will be a big one for next year, how it shakes out.
Yeah. I think
Um,
optimistically, I think we're being optimistic, thinking maybe by this time next year this will all be worked out because there's a lot to untangle here
oh yeah,
with this, but it could take a few years to get this finalized. But still, about the time Tony's next contract is up, I'm sure.
we will definitely keep tabs on it as we know more, and especially how it relates to wrestling. Moving on to other wrestling streaming related news, ex WWE writer and actor Freddie Prince Jr. caused
Freddie.
a stir this week on a podcast when he claimed that a close contact of his that works at ESPN said the organization is furious about the early numbers of WWE's ESPN PLE performances. The comments were circulated to the point that it forced both ESPN and WWE representatives to respond. ESPN's president said he thought that things have gone great thus far, which
Sure
if
they
he'd
have.
ended it there, okay, corporate speak, but he
Hmm.
had to continue, and it was so
Right.
defensive that it made it sound like, yeah, we're really looking at this. So he did note that, well, WrestlePalooza was new. The second PLE was off hours because it was broadcast from Saudi Arabia, and then claimed
Hmm.
that this last weekend Survivor Series would be a more accurate measuring stick moving forward. So if he already
Let's
had
hope
that
not.
response at the ready,
Hmm.
then they've been looking at those numbers in order for him to have a defense for why
Right.
WrestlePalooza and the Crown Jewel pay-per-views were what they were. Sounds a little proactively defensive to me.
Yeah. No, we're fine, but we're watching the numbers closely.
Yes, yeah, we're fine, but
That's
those
what
didn't
that
really matter
was.
because of X, Y, and Z, right?
Hmm.
Moving on to happier things. Last month we reported that the real deal Zeta Steel, who was the first talent WWE signed when it announced their ID program, had turned down WWE's offer to re-sign as a WWE ID talent. Didn't take the deal. That wasn't. She wasn't off our TVs for long. This past week she showed up on Ring of Honor television. Steele is just
Tony.
22 years old, has all the talent in the world. I don't know if she is signed with Tony Khan or if this was a one-off to, get some attention on her and on, Tony loves creating some internet stories. But she did lose
Hmm.
in her first match on the pre-show. No shame in losing to Layla Gray, but um, I think that would be a good relation for her. I think the key here, though, is to show those that maybe are at the very, very bottom rung of WWE where you're so young that and hungry that you're just looking for an opportunity. It may go and
Hmm.
show others that free agency could be more
Right.
lucrative than those low dollar, low ball WWE ID deals.
Yeah, and just being able to be someone who's known to be easy to work with. People who want to invite you back, can get you those higher contracts,
Yeah.
and that nice little banner that so and so is all elite.
I have no doubt that whether it's with Ring of Honor, AEW, or wherever, that Zeta Steel is going to make it in this industry, even if it's outside of WWE, which is
Right.
important to know. It can still be done, at least until the
Hmm.
merger goes through.
Right. Yeah.
um, Condolences to CM Punk and AJ Lee on the
Oh,
loss
I
of
know.
Larry the Dog. Larry has become somewhat internet famous through the years due to Punk constantly referencing him, also present at the backstage kerfuckle
Yeah. The
that
brawl
led
out.
the brawl
Yeah.
out at all out. Larry was rescued by Punk and AJ in February of 2015. So, hey, if you've ever lost one of your first friends, that's not easy. So, seriously, we're not making light at all. Seeing Punk and AJ Lee, uh, truly condolences for Larry the dog. Kind of felt like we know him too because of all the pictures
Right.
you see of him and everything. Just sad for them. Let's end with a positive one instead of a
Let's
negative
do
one,
it.
Doug. Our congrats to WWE NXT stars Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Ariana Grace on their engagement. Stacks proposed to Ariana, the real life daughter of Santino Marella, by the way, in Paris. And of course, because all involved are in the wrestling business, it didn't take long for this to be worked into an angle as
Right.
Stacks knocked out his future father in law Friday night at TNA's Final Resolution, which I think is actually just fantastic, really.
And I saw a tweet from Santino earlier that popped up in my feed reminding people that they're not married yet. They're only engaged. So who knows? Who knows what? There may be a Cobra in somebody's future. Who knows?
Fantastic. There's
Yep.
certain things in real life that I don't like seeing worked into my wrestling, but when all involved are having some good natured fun with it like this, it's fantastic.
Yes, indeed.
Now it's time for us to have some good natured fun, Doug, and that
Oh,
is
man.
let's talk about this main event on our last show of 2025, our Christmas edition. Let's set the stage, my friend. The prototype, Mr. Ruthless
A
Aggression, the
prototype.
Doctor of Thugonomics. Let's go, Cena. Cena sucks. The Never Seen 17, whatever you want to call him. You can't be a wrestling fan and not have an opinion on John Cena, good or bad. He has definitely gets strong emotions. He's been the industry's biggest star of this millennium, and maybe it's most underappreciated. And in some, let's be honest, downright reviled figures to a large majority of
Hmm.
die-hard wrestling fans. So, in the spirit of the season, we are not being Grinches. We're going to get ready for this final bow on Saturday by giving some appreciation to a man that we maybe have not given enough to through his whole career. And then we're going to talk about this farewell tour and how we think it all should end next weekend, Doug. Let's talk about that early John Cena. Were you watching? It seems at this point that it almost feels like we all know it because they play it so often. But do you remember
Hmm.
actually watching when Kurt Angle said, "Hey, anybody, come on out," and John Cena emerged?
I want to say, well, yeah, I remember that, but I don't know if I remember that or if I've just saw it so much at this point. Yeah, I don't remember, honestly.
Ruthless aggression.
Aggression, right? That's what I've got to offer. I,
Yeah, I
I,
mean, it
I
does
don't,
kind of
I
feel like
don't.
we've all seen it, whether we actually did see it or not.
Yeah.
I'm sure I did see it. I believe I saw it. That was 2002. So for almost, for going on 25 years, just shy of it, we've had John Cena on our TVs. That first one, though, I do remember. If I didn't see it, I saw it very shortly after it happened.
Hmm.
As far as what I thought about it at the time, I thought, okay, he's got a good physique, but if you look at that first clip, he kind of had a generic look to him. There was no jorts, there was no thugonomics, there was just
Hmm.
a kid who looked like they called him up from OVW, which they did. And
Yes.
and hey, he's a good look. And of course, at that time, it was still the old man, Vince McMahon. And it was very possible sometimes something would happen one week and never be mentioned again. So I didn't know if it would be one
Hmm.
of those things where they picked a good kid,
Right, right, right,
had the look, and this might be the last we ever see of him, or at least the last we ever see of him for some time. There
right,
was no way of knowing from that he was going to be John Cena that we all were
right.
talking
But
about today.
just to back up real quickly, let's talk about that graduating class from OVW that all came up together because you have Batista, Orton, Brock Lesnar, Cena.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it's insane. It's a murderer's row. Um, for sure. So I don't know. I mean, do you do you think that
right.
I mean everybody in that class went on to be somebody huge in this business that is still huge in this business? None
But
necessarily to the extent of John Cena.
but looking back at that ruthless aggression promo, and even Cena has roasted himself in
Yeah.
that promo, talking about how bad it was and how he almost got fired, so many times early on because
Oh, he hit that.
he
I
just
mean, we
wasn't
joke about
clicking.
the ruthless aggression because he hit that line so
Hmm.
awkwardly. Ruthless aggression. It wasn't
Right.
strong. Um,
No.
he did obviously transition from that. The first real character signs of John Cena having something other than just a good physique was the Doctor of Thugonomics. How
Hmm.
that rap persona connected with the fans at the time, it's easy to forget that this last year where John was a heel was not the first and only time he was a heel. It's just been the first time since the very beginning because the Doctor of
Hmm.
Thugonomics at first was a heel. When did you like the white rapper
I did not.
gimmick? The
No, no. There's, other than the Beastie Boys, there's only one really good white rapper, and that's Eminem. Other than that, you know, and to me, the Cena character was supposed to be, in heel form, was supposed to be
yeah,
like this, vanilla ice type of
yes,
like heel, right? So he did his job. In hindsight, he did his job perfectly. I did not
yeah.
like the character at all. You know, so.
That's a good point as far as finding the appreciation and that we maybe didn't give at the time because I actually liked the heel part of it quite a bit. It was cheesy, but as a
Hmm.
heel, I thought it was supposed to be cheesy. It worked better. I mean, who doesn't hate the annoying white guy who thought he was from the hood when he actually was from a very affluent suburb of
Right?
Austin? Who wouldn't hate that guy? Very much Vanilla Ice, But I think for me, what maybe had me underappreciated or overlook it is how quickly the it got over to the point that the
Hmm.
Thugonomics era went from the FU to the attitude adjustment. And once they did
Yep.
that, I didn't think the gimmick worked as well as a face because it then devolved into poop jokes and just like really
Hmm.
childish stuff and not the hey he's grating because he thinks he's a hardcore rapper but he's a white pretty boy.
Right. But at that point, I think the Hulk Hogan rocket had been strapped on Cena as soon as that transition was made from Doctor of Thugonomics to, well, babyface Doctor of Thugonomics as it started to go through a bit of an evolution there
Yeah.
to, to where we get, our Super Cena, let's go Cena, Cena sucks chance. But
And part of it
that
is like
trend,
was it, do you think it was just the rocket ship or was it not just the company, was it the company responding to what they were seeing that the fans were responding to him good or bad and they just realized they had something with him?
I think, well, I'm not sure, especially at what time. Okay, let me back up here. There have been times that the WWE, the WWF has actually listened to the audience, but there have been many more times where the WWE has listened to the audience and said, "Oh, okay," and then doubled down on whatever they're doing anyway. So,
No, this is what you want.
yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure whether they saw something that the audience was responding to and just decided to double down on it. We can probably sell more merch if we make him a baby face. So let's do
Yep.
that and see where it goes. And then they saw where it was catching on. It's like, all right, get the Hogan rocket out of storage. We got our next Hogan. We got our next superstar Billy Graham here.
Well, and they did. I mean,
Hmm.
they certainly, you can't argue with the results as it would turn out, even if we wouldn't know it at the time how it would turn out. But they, at that point in time, the Thugonomics at the end of the Thugonomics era, the babyface Thugonomics era, he became a main eventer. He went through the mid card pretty quick. He had um, pretty memorable feuds in those early days with Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle, JBL, Eddie Guerrero, and looked like he belonged in the ring when he wrestled those guys, even if at the time we didn't exactly, see those as 5-star matches of
Right.
appreciation. But there was undoubtedly a peak in his stardom as he did become that Hulk Hogan. He was the face of WWE from the mid 2000s all the way through the 2000
Correct.
teens.
Yes.
This is a period when I think it became kind of cool to hate on
Hmm.
Cena and honestly just too easy for everyone to take him for granted. The fact he was the face of the company as they switch from the Attitude Era to the PG era, I think, is
Hmm.
laid on Cena's shoulders. He is the face of the PG era, and I think the old school fans that wanted middle fingers and beer swigging and bra and panties matches, I think that fairly or unfairly, John Cena became the epitome of the kind of wrestling that they hated.
You know, I do agree with that. And, I think when we went to the PG era, John Cena literally became the Superman of, the WWE. I mean, we joke about him being Super Cena and everything like that. And I think there is a fair share of of those Attitude Era fans that didn't necessarily need the bra and panties matches and the beer drinking hell raising, but they wanted a Batman and they got a Superman. You know, I think CM Punk came along later to be that. I've seen Punk talk about him and Cena. And
Batman,
Punk likes
Superman.
to. Yeah, well, Punk likes to say, Cena is Batman and he's the Joker. And I'm like, Punk is no
Of course
Joker.
he does.
Punk is no Joker, and Cena is no Batman. However, I can see the Batman Superman, dynamic between the two of them, where they're both, champions of a certain group. But yeah, Punk is no Joker, first of all.
Well, when you need to, when you are actively trying to tone the product down from
Right.
ultra violence and vulgarity to something that families would see. John Cena has the fresh, clean cut look. He
Yes,
is could be relied upon. Whatever you ask him to do, he was going to be a company man. And some
absolutely.
fans absolutely did not like that. And I honestly was one at the time that felt he was very vanilla
Guilty.
as well.
Guilty.
Yeah. But if you go back and you look at the high quality matches that he had during that time, when you talk about his feuds with Randy Orton, Edge, you mentioned CM Punk. I mean, the whole pipe,
Hmm.
like the work there, AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar, others. I mean, I think I have to say, I think we maybe slept a little bit too harshly on his in ring performances. They were not Shawn Michaels level. No, but
No,
they also weren't Hulk Hogan level either.
definitely not. And
So
I think
somewhere in
about you just
between.
mentioned just mentioning Lesnar. Two men had to agree on Suplex City before Suplex City happened. That wasn't spontaneity in the ring, I'm sure. Hey, I'm going to suplex you like 38 times in a row. Okay, yeah, sure, cool. That didn't happen. That was not an audible in the ring. I'm certain of it. But he knows how to tell a story in the ring. He puts people over, which is something I think we've overlooked too. Because I'm like, yeah, he's giving Steen a shot, or Kevin Owens a shot on Raw.
Oh
He's
yeah.
coming out. Yeah, he
Do you
is.
think that
He's gonna.
do you think that the five moves of doom thing, I mean, I know that's kind of a dig on Cena that he's kind of embraced himself. Do you think that that in retrospect was fair? Because if you do look back at that resume, he actually could have a good contest and tell a good story with a variety of opponents. I mean, The Rock is
Yeah.
no Dean Malenko either, but no one really slams The Rock for his in-ring performances because he was charismatic and could tell a story. I think the fans hated on Cena, but I'm not sure that his wrestling acumen or level is any better or worse than someone like The Rock.
I've got to agree with that, and I think about a Van Vliet, Chris Van Vliet video I watched recently where he's talking to Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whichever you prefer, and specifically he's talking about the Miz, uh, and Brian, like what is it, talking smack that happened off afterwards,
Yeah.
where the two of them agreed to it beforehand. It's like you say this and I'll say this, and we'll go back and forth. So Brian's talking about at the end of it, Brian is supposed to like punch the Miz. He says he's going to really punch him. Of course, he's going to pull it, but being a wrestler, he knows how to pull a punch and make it look real. That was supposed to be the end thing because Miz is really frustrated with his position at the time. Brian's really frustrated with his position, and Brian just keeps putting Miz over and over and over in this interview, talking about how he's really good at what he does. And that made me think because even Brian said he called an audible in the middle because Miz was really cooking in this promo. So instead of punching him at the end of it and taking away his seat, Brian was like, "Okay, the better thing to do here is for me as a character to get frustrated and walk away." And he got a whole bunch of grief for this and then of course as soon as the cameras cut, they're like high fiving each other and everybody's like, "Oh, thank God, we thought that was real,
Yeah.
right?" But with that, I think about stuff that Brian said in that promo about how Miz, wrestles like he's afraid to get hit and things like that. But Miz wrestles a very safe style for Miz to get over, and Miz is a good wrestler. Miz is a better wrestler than me, right? He's out there doing it every
I
night.
would say,
He's
I
been
would
hurt.
say, yeah.
He's been hurt like what once, freakishly within like what, a 20 plus year career already. Cena, same thing. I don't think Cena needs to be the flippy floppy high flyer with like the man of a thousand holds like Malenko to get over. Yeah, it's fun to hate on him now and then as the five moves of doom, but use what works, I guess.
I mean, yeah, he was not Mr. Work Rate, but he was
Mm-mm.
also, if you go back, he was a proven big match performer,
Yeah.
especially during his peak years of stardom. I think I started to gain more respect for him, honestly, when he began to embrace the whole "Let's go Cena,
Mm-hmm.
Cena sucks" dynamic. I'm
Right.
sure that was not easy at first. You are supposed to be Superman. You are the baby face. and the top member of the entire industry. The whole company was riding on you, and the fans, the older male fans, like we should be
Hmm.
pointing out that there was definitely a divide where the older
Yes,
male fans hated on Cena, but the female
right
fans
here.
and the
Yeah,
kids, yeah,
loved him. Just
loved
like
him.
Superman. Again, I got to go back to the superhero analogy here. We wanted Batman. We got Superman. We got like the squeaky clean, clean shaven, super guy who could never do any wrong.
Do you feel in some regards though? I kind of feel like once he started, instead of fighting the or seeming hurt, because he really did seem hurt, and I would probably
Hmm.
too. But once
Sure.
he got over that and began embracing it, don't you think that a lot of those Cena sucks chants were actually more of a compliment and more in fun, and actually we meant it less? Because now that I think about it, like you never got a dead crowd with Cena. It was always a
Never.
reaction. It became the thing to do to hate on John Cena, and he seemed like he was in on it and was okay with it, and so that made it even better somehow.
It did. It's like, Kurt Angle coming out to "You suck," I mean,
Yeah,
you're Garrett, you put John Cena in any arena, in any stadium, in any civic center, in any gym, in any bingo hall throughout America during that time, you're going to get a "Let's go Cena, Cena sucks" chant.
yeah.
You're getting maximum audience participation, regardless of if they love him or they hate him. Everybody's involved,
I would not be
and
even
most of them.
surprised if in his final match next weekend, if just for fun, we don't get some Cena sucks responses from
Mhm.
some members of the crowd, and all meant in respect now instead of like true go away heat, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when we're going to get him, which my money's on Gunther, so to to be that final champion. LA Knight, man, sorry, dude, but that's you
That's,
know
that's nice
you put
thoughts.
the yeah, you put the ring general in there with Cena. I mean, that's a way to go out.
Before we get to that, let's get into these
Sure,
later
sorry.
years of John Cena. No, because that's actually a good segue because I think that this is where we can put any negativity, legitimate or not. Now, no one's above criticism. We're not trying to whitewash the way we felt about Cena at any point in time. There's obviously the five moves that he relied on. There's the
Hmm.
white bread character that you don't have to like. There's the jean shorts. There's the poop jokes. There's all kinds of legitimate things. But you can put all of that behind you and say that that's the back seat when it comes to respecting and appreciating John Cena. To me, his unique connection with the kids and families in regardless of what you think of his character or his in-ring work,
Hmm.
booking decisions, all of that. The unprecedented number of Make-A-Wish Foundation grants that man gave
Hmm.
by a large margin between him and the
Large,
number
yeah.
two. I don't care what you think about anything in the ring. That speaks a lot to his character, what his character meant to a lot of kids, and how he could have still had a legacy of he's good with kids, he grants a lot of wishes, and not gone to the extreme number that he went to. That
Hmm.
only could speak to the fact that he wanted to do that and was good at that and knew how much it meant to those poor kids. And how could anyone hate on that aspect of what John Cena truly is behind the screen?
This is so true. I mean, yes, yes, yeah, and yes, because I mean, it's such, there's a part of me that wants to be like this jaded, grumpy old man and say, but is that really just part of his corporate, a very nuanced corporate creation that he is? But I don't think you can fake that. Maybe I've been fooled, but I don't think you can fake that because I think of like ridiculous things like making Nikki Bella sign like a contract before she even moved into a house with him when they
Yeah,
were just living together,
yeah.
and things like that. Are those weird little idiosyncrasies, or just or what is that? And is it all one big corporate thing? No, I am not that jaded and grumpy of an old Mark. I'm a jaded, grumpy old Mark, but not that jaded of a grumpy
I,
old Mark to say that
I,
it's a corporate construct altogether.
I have no doubt that as a smart businessman, there is some
Sure.
eye that he keeps on the fact that this is good for business and good for corporate
Hmm.
image. But he really could have done half of what he did and still had maintained that. You wouldn't go to
Yes.
the extreme that he went unless he just truly knew that it was the right thing to do. And you have to admire a man that did that for so many children
Hmm.
who desperately
Absolutely.
needed something to feel good
So many.
about.
Yes.
And then let's talk about the on-screen John Cena in his later years. When he became a Hollywood, de facto part timer and then full time Hollywood guy, he made these sporadic appearances. He didn't forget WWE. He never talked down to the audience. He never looked like he was trying to use wrestling to get somewhere else. But when he did show up, Doug, he showed up to lose. And not every returning star has an ego that would allow him to do that. You mentioned earlier, like obviously we talked earlier about his famous feuds with AJ and Brock and things, Edge back in the day. But if you look at his appearances over the last 5, 6 years as a part timer,
Hmm.
he's putting over Bray Wyatt. He's putting over Kevin Owens.
Hmm.
He's putting over Seth Rollins, Sami Zayn. He's taking the
Over and
younger
over.
guys and agreeing to come in and lose or look bad in comparison to them.
Is that an old school wrestling mentality that's he's carried with him? This is what you're supposed to do. Not that I've got to protect my spot like a Hogan, but I'm here to lose. I'm here to put somebody over. I'm here to pass the torch. I'm here to continue this thing that I made. I mean, SmackDown, the house that AJ built. But WWE at this point is the house that Cena built. Well, along with McMahon, which is a complicated history there, which we'll get. That's a
Well,
whole other thing. But
I mean, is that not worth maybe pointing out too that John Cena managed to not only, well, if you talk about the Brock Lesnar's and the Randy Ortons of the world, you're talking about this John Cena is a man who bridged the gap between the Attitude Era, managed to take this company through the PG era, managed to take this company through the fall of Vince McMahon and all the turmoil there into the corporate TKO era, putting young guys over, or younger, I guess, not young, but guys
hmm.
like Kevin Owens and Sammy and like when you look at the arc of John Cena's career, he has kind of been a glue through a whole lot of corporate change and might have been the
Hmm.
glue holding a lot of things together.
Yeah, it it's true. It's damn true, Kevin. It's
It
to
is.
borrow a phrase from the great Kurt Angle. It's true.
And that's guys like Kurt Angle, he put over John Cena. So I do think there is an old school mentality because Cena has mentioned a lot, and this is a great segue to finish us up here to talk about the farewell tour in this last year. But I mean, John
Hmm.
has kind of made it clear that he wanted to give people, young people, the opportunity that he was given when he was young, which is why he wanted to have Saturday Night's Main Event instead of being a full like tribute to him. He wanted it to be the future of WWE, and so
Hmm.
he wanted or NXT stars represented, and they wanted this tournament where a new opponent, would emerge for him to take on. That shows a pretty giving personality.
It absolutely does. I wonder since I mean John Cena Senior, one time a wrestling promoter, right? So
Yeah.
maybe the kid came up right from the
Well,
beginning with an understanding of the business, and this is how you do business.
it's probably worth saying that John will tell you this is what he wanted to do. He wasn't a football star who came over or someone who was athletic
Right.
who someone saw and said, hey, you could do this. He's a lifelong wrestling fan. So I think there's times where even if you hate him, it shows that he is a lifelong wrestling fan. Unlike a Hogan, who
Hmm.
famously had stories from folks who did not like him, did not like working with him, felt that he was had too much creative control, was keeping them down. That could
Hmm.
probably be said for a lot of folks. There's going to be one or two that might think that about you, but you certainly don't hear stories of John Cena pulling a creative control card or young people
Right.
in the dressing room saying that John Cena had kept them from television or kept
Right.
them lower on the card. You don't hear those things about him.
No, you don't.
This idea of a farewell tour, let's bring it to the modern day when
Hmm.
this just doesn't happen in wrestling. Like an injury takes you out and you can't go anymore, or you just never retire and you just keep
Hmm.
going. The idea of I'm going to announce a date way in the future, and it just doesn't. You don't get these opportunities where you can sell the farewell merchandise and
Right.
go on the one last time tour. Um, I think it's been really interesting to see that even though it's not prime Cena as far as his athletic ability, we've had some of his more interesting matches in this last year, and maybe more than we would have thought that we would have could have possibly got out of him at this age. But I give him a lot of credit for putting in the work, not going through the motions. I think that overall this year-long effort has mostly paid off as memorable chapter that will always be talked about as part of his overall career.
I absolutely think you're right there. I mean, it started hot, got hotter, then got weird, but then once because I mean, Hill Cena, I was looking forward very much to a Hill Cena run, then Cena coming full circle with a redemption arc. I don't know if that was fully thought out, what the plan was, but after a while, that the wheels literally fell off that whole thing, and they
You can't
just,
talk about this farewell tour without talking about that, right? I mean,
yeah.
it's sort of the elephant in the room. When you talk about the last year and what this has maintained as far as highlights, there was that emotional announcement signaling the beginning of the farewell run. He mixed new matches, new opponents, people like Cody and Dom, with
Yes.
callbacks to his greatest opponents like Punk and Styles and Orton. All of that was well done. The heel turn does stand out,
Mhm.
and it could have derailed the whole thing. I don't think it did for me. I still will say, as I said back then, I maintain it was the most shocking heel turn in history. The heel turn itself was really, really well done. The fact that they dropped the ball afterwards is not really a condemnation of Cena. I think it had to
Mhm.
do with whatever happened to The Rock, honestly, and his relationship with
Yes.
WWE. And I mean, it for at least they realized that they needed to course correct. I wish they'd have done more
Hmm.
with it. I still am glad that we had a chance to see Hill Cena, even if for a little bit.
Yeah, I really loved the idea of Hill Cena. Love the idea of a redemption arc. Didn't really get it. Okay, wait, I suck. My bad. Sorry about that. Let's do this. We got like a 10-minute redemption arc, but that's okay because it rebounded. I agree with you. I think it was a rock issue. Started hot, but we've been wrestling fans for a very long time. This isn't the first angle that we've just seen kind of dropped,
Right.
and never
I
mind,
mean,
didn't happen.
in retrospect, I almost feel like if The Rock couldn't be involved and Travis Scott, whatever that weirdness was,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
I feel like maybe they were smart to drop it instead of just like using what little time they had left with Cena to go down a
Push it.
wrong road. Um, Sometimes you have to just realize that was a mistake and course correct.
I mean, and yeah, I also remember a time when we were both like, there is no way he cannot beat the Flair record. He cannot do it. He cannot do
All
it.
right,
If
let's
Cena
talk
wins,
about
we
that.
rewrite it. Yeah, yeah, we've
Are you
both been
fine
there
with that?
before in the past.
I mean,
I'm
you
fine
said
with it
we've been
now.
watching
Absolutely.
wrestling for a long, long time. As longtime wrestling
I
fans,
am.
we almost hold an unnatural love of all things Ric Flair,
Hmm.
and it was like insulting to us that you were going to give someone like John Cena a chance to pass the greatest of all time. Flair's still the greatest of all time. I kind of don't. I mean, rather than just be tied with him, I was fine in the final year. I think it added a lot more drama to some of those matches to have John,
Yes.
yeah, go from losing all the time to finding his mojo, his second win at the end, and get one more run with the title. I think it benefited the come see John Cena one more time at the arena by the arena only, this city only t-shirt and towel and all that. It was
Uh-huh.
great marketing. It made a lot of sense to have him win it. I'm fine with it.
Prior to this year, absolutely not. But this year, yes, totally cool with it and think it's well deserved, honestly.
it should maybe be pointed out even more than what you and I think about it. The man himself, Ric Flair, also
Uh-huh.
thought it was the exact right thing to do, and he had no problem with it. And Flair is a man with a famous ego, and if Flair could handle it,
Yeah.
we should all be able to handle it as well. Let's talk though about the end, Doug. The next weekend, Saturday night's main event match. You mentioned LA Knight. Maybe before we get to what happens next weekend, let's talk about what happened on Friday. Does Gunther seem like the right final opponent to you for this John Cena farewell tour? And in some world, it'd be a Stone Cold or or The Rock finally figuring things out. Like I know Gunther is not the star, maybe not even like what we've already seen with his matches with AJ and reheating things with Punk, which worked real well. Gunther Cena doesn't have the marquee value, but I don't know. I think it's better than LA Knight.
I think, yeah, like I said, people dig LA Knight, and people are like, "Oh yeah, LA Knight." I'm like, yeah, I don't see that, for weeks, if not months now. I mean, it's been rumored to be Gunther anyway, so shocking
Yeah,
that we're getting Gunther, but some of it. No, LA Knight is not right. Gunther, I think, is right because, you're talking the never seen 17 at this point going against the man who is the ring general. And I think that's a very, very good choice because we've seen everything else we could possibly see, reasonably see already this year, I think. And this does a great service to Gunther to put him over to an audience that may not be that much into Gunther.
and you think is more important to put the heel over than it would have been the face LA Knight, who
It's okay.
is kind of, I mean, he is already over. And Gunther is
Yeah.
already recognized as world championship level. Do you think part of this is to make sure that you get the best final match as possible? Because I don't know that LA Knight is the
Yes.
worker. Actually, I know for a fact he's not the worker that Gunther
Yes.
is.
He is
You're
not.
going to get a better
Yeah.
match this
Yeah.
one.
You're getting. Nah, I hate to do this to LA Knight, but LA Knight is like Rock or Stone Cold Light. You got a great talker and he's an okay worker. You don't need that with the Cena's final match. You need a AJ Styles in there where they can. I don't expect the greatest hits like AJ and Cena did, but
Which was
I expect
fantastic.
it was amazing, but I do expect something really, really good. Just just watching Solo Sokoa and Gunther, on Monday night going at it and seeing how it's just so methodical and there's so much psychology and how Gunther can work a match and start it slow and just keep it boiling and boiling until the tea kettle is like screaming to be pulled off the stove. That's what he can do with Cena. And John has all this experience to, make call. I mean, literally the ring general. We've heard him calling spots all year in the ring.
Do you
So,
think when you say put over, do you mean give the rub or do you mean literally put over? Do you feel that, because this is always the big question with a farewell match. Typically, the old school mentality was you go out on your back by giving someone else that win. You don't go out
hmm
a winner. I know that like Tony Khan, tried to talk Sting into like winning his final match. That's a recent example where
hmm
things might have gone differently. But for John Cena, the way that he has conducted himself in this farewell tour, I kind of feel like he's going to insist on losing.
I agree. Gunther is going over. It's Cena staring at the lights, and giving. I mean, it's like defeating the Undertaker at WrestleMania. I've always thought that somebody who needed that should have got that, not Lesnar. I mean, it's one of those things I've come to reconcile in my own wrestling brain that it's okay, it happened, it's okay. Taker is cool with it. You know,
Yeah.
somebody else could have used it, but
Well, and
Lesnar
Cena's
got
going to
it.
be cool with this too, right? Because I mean,
Yep,
don't you think
right, right,
ultimately
right.
it's Cena's call? Do you think they gave him the like,
I
do you
abs-
want to win? Do you want to lose?
I absolutely think it was Cena's call for who his final match was with and how his final match is booked. I think that is, yeah, Triple H. everybody's stepping back and saying, "You call this one, Chief. This one is all you."
You think that he's working us a bit by saying that he didn't care who his final opponent was, or he had no say in it? You think he had say in it?
Absolutely, he had say in it.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
yeah,
if he could construct the entire card to be NXT guys because he wants to highlight the future, then I can't imagine that highlighting the future would include him winning in the last match against
right.
Gunther.
Why? Why?
Uh,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's not
and
going to take it away from John Cena's legacy at this point.
right. It takes nothing away from Cena, gives so much to Gunther. I mean, that is bragging rights that, just like Dom now has,
Yeah,
the bragging rights of going over on Cena on his very last PLE. You
yeah,
know,
winning the
Gunther is the
title.
man Gunther is the man to not only, win in a match against John Cena, he's the man that essentially retires Cena at that point. So those are some big
which
bragging rights there. That's
which
that's
I'm
marketing.
gonna
That's a
be.
T-shirt. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, it will be because that will be something
Yeah.
that he will make as part of his character, the man that retired
Yes.
John Cena, which
Hmm.
will only help Gunther. Let's
Yes.
talk one last question, and then we'll get to our big finish.
All
And
right.
this is a big question because when we say he is the man that retired John Cena, do we think that we are seeing John Cena retire? Because it is very tricky in wrestling and or rock and roll to go, I'm retiring because you're going to come back. They all come back. Do you think that John Cena will be one of those that manages to stay retired when he says this is it?
Call me a sucker, call me a mark, call me what you will. But I think Cena will stay retired. I think we may see Cena come back in some non-in-ring action or some non-wrestling related roles. He may have appearances, but this is his last time in the ring. And I say that because I think Cena does have his eyes very much set on a more of a Hollywood type future career at this point.
Yeah.
I've said before, he can't make that leap like Dave Batista did because Batista wants to be that serious actor, even if he's not like the leading man serious actor. He's takes all these acting classes and takes these parts where, he gets to like stretch those acting legs after seeing this season of Peacemaker, and especially as it crescendos up to the end there and seeing what a damaged character Cena could play in that, I think Cena has a future similar to what Batista has, but probably a bigger marquee name where he can get those like bigger roles. And I think that's Cena's future. I think he has to get some things fixed first because, I've seen him walking with his wife outside, like TMZ videos and things like that. And he walks a little funny when he does that Undertaker thing when I think he's wrestling and just sucks it up and walks. And even he said that, even this hurts now. So I
Oh,
think,
geez.
to
Yeah.
make that transition and to go into this future of entertainment, I think Cena's done with in-ring action after this last match.
I typically don't believe professional wrestlers when they say they're going to
Right,
retire. The I mean, The Rock never said he was going to not come back, and he's a comeback occasionally. Stone Cold thought he couldn't ever wrestle again, so when he came
right.
back, I didn't mind that. Shawn Michaels was one that the only other person I thought would actually mean it when he said it, and he did until Triple
Until he
H
found
talked
his
him into
smile.
taking until Triple H talked him into taking a Saudi Arabian
Yeah.
payday that really
Hmm.
turned out badly. Like it really was not
Yeah.
fun to watch.
No need for
No,
that.
I don't think that one, Cena obviously does not need the money, will not be talked back in. And I think that he's shown enough range and success in
Hmm.
Hollywood and just a humbleness that like he's so likable when you see him on talk shows and things. I think he's going to
Yeah.
do very well. He will come back. He will deliver an attitude adjustment here and there, the way that Stone Cold does a stunner. But I kind of believe him, and I
Yeah,
typically
me
don't
too.
believe wrestlers when they say this is it, but I think this is
Yeah,
it.
I do. I do too. I believe it.
And not just because there's this fake Christmas tree behind me, but if this is it, and I do believe it is, John, we are sorry that we took you for granted. And I can admit now that I'm going to miss John Cena. And I did not think that I would. And I didn't think I would enjoy this final year half as much as I have. I know
Hmm.
we had an episode a few weeks ago, Doug, on the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. It's kind of hard to judge by a man who's not officially retired yet, but if we were to do that show 10 years from now, there's probably a pretty strong case to be made that this man deserved a spot, considering what all he took the company through for almost 25 years.
Yeah, yeah.
We will be tuning in, John. Thank you for everything, and we'll tune in
Thank
next
you.
week and see how this final match goes. I can't wait to see Gunther chop the crap out of you.
Right?
It'll be fun for all of us.
All
Fun for
fun.
all. Let's let's talk fun, Doug. Let's hit that big finish.
Let's do
The
it.
last one of 2025.
I want to be generous since it's a Christmas episode, but I'm not going to be.
There we go.
Because I'm grumpy and sick, so here comes the Grinch. Yeah, and this actually is a minor botch, but I really think that Raw and SmackDown both, much more Raw, could have done so much better with their War Games follow up, because you had some some illusion of follow up to War Games, but the big things, you had no Punk, you had none of the prime players. You had like partial players in primetime storylines, and the whole like we're gonna resolve it, and then Heyman does a Jedi mind trick, and it's like, okay, yeah, we're not gonna talk about that guy. It's obviously not Seth Rollins, and it's Austin Theory in a mask, but we're not gonna say that, or until we decide it's Jericho if we can get him to sign. No, it's just like, oh, it's not happening. So my botch is that follow up to War Games, especially for Raw this week.
Well, War Games, if you didn't see our show last week, we weren't too high on the PLE
No.
itself. So it's in some ways no surprise that the follow up was equally as poor. I'm going for my botch of the week to someone who honestly I could give it to every week, and that is the worst commentator in wrestling, Booker T. I mean, come on. Do you know what I'm about to say? Do you know what I'm about to
Yeah,
say?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so if you did not, for those that did not watch the NXT Deadline pay per view last night, it was fantastic. I'll get to more on that later, but obviously get Booker T on commentary, who at one point says about Miles Bourne, he may be deaf, but he's not dumb. Miles Bourne is truly deaf. He is a
Oh
hearing
no,
impaired
why?
wrestler. Yes, he did. He said that he may be deaf, but he's not dumb. And then they went to talk. I guess it was a backhanded compliment about something that Miles Bourne didn't get fooled by in the ring. Did we have to actually go there? Booker T went there, and just for that,
This
Booker
is
T.
this is why it is so hard for me to watch such the great product that it is NXT. I was watching a recap show. They were talking about Corey Graves was like on commentary, I guess, during the week. And I'm like, oh great,
Yes,
maybe Corey's back full time. But
I
I didn't
almost gave
realize
that
the
my
Booker.
performance of the week just because of how good it was to watch NXT without having to put up with Booker T.
Oh my.
But performance of the week, Doug. Who was your performer or performance that you
So
really wanted to call out this week?
I gotta call out Kofi Kingston, because it took three men to actually make this happen, but it took one man to really get it to happen. Because if you go back and you watch, and this is a tag team, because I kind of been sleeping on the tag team division in WWE for a few
Sure.
months now, but Dragon Lee and AJ Styles is the tag team I didn't know I wanted or needed, but I it's both those things. But Kofi, to be able go back and watch it in slow mo, just go back and rewatch that where Dragon Lee does that stomp off of Cody or Kofi, and Kofi bounces and ends up in a Styles clash where AJ catches him. It is the
Oh,
most beautiful, perfect ending, just the timing, the pacing, everything. But without Kofi, you see him at the very last minute. He grabs both ropes. He grabs the top and the middle rope. Just as he gets hit, goes down, and then kind of pushes off just so he can get the right bounce too, so that AJ
Yeah.
can catch him. And then even the camera pulls out, so you see Dragon Lee go across, take out the rest of the opposition. Styles Clash, 1, 2, 3, over. It has to be Oreo. What is happening, buddy? You,
Oreo
you haven't
agrees
seen
with
you.
you. He's excited about that match. That was an
He is
amazing finish.
excited. He is, but Kofi, and honestly, just because of that finish, Oreo, buddy, I'm trying to do a show here. Here, why don't you get right here? Because of that, I'm giving that my match of the week too, just for that
Oh,
perfect picture
okay.
perfect finish. But Kofi had to be the one to make all that happen because without Kofi, that could have went. You can't bounce a band like that. Well, you
No.
can, but I
But I
mean,
mean, it was perfect. It was executed
perfect,
flawlessly.
perfect. I mean, I wonder
Um,
how many times they practiced that. But anyway, that's mine.
I will then do my performance of the week, and then I'll go into my match. I will
All
say
right,
performance of the week, TNA. There you go.
good call.
I
Yeah,
mean, TNA. You mentioned it earlier. They've been
they
counted out for dead
so many.
a thousand
Yep.
times, and this is the best deal they've had since since their Pop TV days, maybe even since their Fox Sports days at the start. Like
Sure.
they have not had this kind of exposure that they're about to get in a decade and a half at
Yeah.
least. So kudos to them for hanging in there, going through personnel changes, management changes, ownership changes, TV changes, and here in a couple of weeks we all get to view TNA again. I am not actually
Mhm.
burdened by another show I need to watch. I'm excited about the fact that
Right.
here's this hot show that I read good things about and see good clips of that makes me interested. I can now watch on a weekly basis. I'm happy for them
Hmm.
and for wrestling fans. I think it's good for the business. Congrats to TNA. My match of the week came from last night and Deadline, which I mentioned earlier.
I figured. Uh-huh.
I could go for either of the Iron Survivor Challenge matches. I'm going to go for the women's match: Kendall Gray versus Sol Ruka versus Jordan Grace versus Lola Vice versus Kalani Jordan. I love all the women in that match. I think it was beginning to end the stronger of the two, even though both were great. The Iron Survivor Challenge is the best
Right.
gimmick match in WWE right now. Doug, do you know how they do
I'm
this?
not for now. No.
It's
Neither is
honestly,
Oreo.
it's kind of takes the best elements of Royal Rumble and mixes it with an Iron Man.
Okay.
Essentially, it is you get the entrances, you get the countdown of who's coming out next, but ultimately it's a 25-minute match and you have five people in it. You have two to start, and then you add somebody every 5 minutes. The
Okay.
key is whoever has the most pinfalls wins. So you just rack up a score.
Okay.
If you get pinned, though, you get put in a penalty box for 90 seconds. That adds strategy because you have 90 seconds that you cannot score. It also adds strategy to if you want to be in first because you have more time in the
Right.
ring
Okay.
to rack up the.
Right.
So there's just so much goodness about it. The end game of the women's had a fun five-way tie with just a minute or so
Oh.
to spare. They were at two falls apiece right up to the very end. And then the unexpected person, the least likely of that entire bunch, the Evolve champion Kendall Gray, scored the deciding fall with seconds to spare. It was absolutely fantastic from minute 1 to minute 25. Highly recommend. I want more Iron Survivor challenges. These are great concept matches.
Awesome. I'll have to go back and check it out. I'll have
Check
to
it
watch it with
out.
the sound turned down, the commentary off, Booker T.
That you
But
will, yeah, that you definitely will have to do. um, and with that,
oh
I
my,
mean, checking things out, we're checking out for the holidays, but
we are.
we appreciate you. If you've watched this at all this year or if this is your first time, please like, subscribe. However, you have engaged with us on whatever
Yes.
channel you're doing so, we appreciate it. We're taking the
Thank
time
you.
off for the holidays. Doug, you saw there at the bottom of our screen, we're
Whoa, look at
back.
that.
We're back on January 4th with our annual best of show. Doug, this is what we picked last year. So I wanted to throw that up as a final graphic before we signed off for 2025. This is how we looked back at 2024. Some of these
Yep.
hold up better than others. Will we see any repeats? When we return on January 4th, these
Wow.
very categories here are the categories we will be picking for the year that we are getting ready to conclude. It'll be a lot of fun. We hope we come back and everyone joins us on the 4th of January. Until then, I guess we say Merry Christmas, right?
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Feliz Navidad, and go watch some wrestling, I guess.
Go watch some
Thanks,
wrestling.
everybody.
Thank you all.